There we go. There I am. Okay, we're going to go live on Bigo as well. So 3, 2, 1. There we go. And now I understand why it wasn't working last time. I was on audio live and not on video live. Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a great weekend. And it is good to have you all here. I have almost had withdrawal symptoms from not reading over the weekend. But here we are. What do they say? Separation makes the heart grow fonder, don't they? So it is good to have you all here. And hopefully you've been all looking forward to the reading. And I'm just going to get the book, but there's a box that is about to fall over. Okay. Rich Dad Poor Dad in Chinese. We won't read that one. We are reading an absolutely amazing book called The Art of Thinking Clearly. We'll have to see what chapter we're up to. I'm not sure if I even remember. I think it was the liking bias, chapter 22. There we go. And then chapter 23 today, don't cling to things, the endowment effect. Okay, who's excited for some reading? We'll say hello to some people who are saying hello on Bigo. Good to see you all. Okay, here we go. Chapter 23. The BMW gleamed in the parking lot of the used car dealership. Although it had a few miles on the odometer, it looked in perfect condition. I know a little bit about used cars, and to me it was worth around $40,000. However, the salesman was pushing for $50,000 and wouldn't budge a dime. When he called the next week to say he would accept $40,000 after all, I went for it. The next day, I took it out for a spin and stopped at a gas station. The owner came out to admire the car and proceeded to offer me $53,000 in cash on the spot. I politely declined. Only on the way home did I realize how ridiculous I was to have said no. Something that I considered worth $40,000 had passed into my possession and suddenly taken on a value of more than $53,000. If I were thinking purely rationally, I would have sold the car immediately. But alas, I'd fallen under the influence of the endowment effect. We consider things to be more valuable the moment we own them. In other words, if we are selling something, we charge more for it than we would ourselves be willing to spend. This is a really interesting one because it's also related to gambling. I don't know if he mentions this later on, I can't remember. But there's a principle where as soon as you put money on a bet, so if you believe that a football team is going to win or a horse is going to win or whatever it is that you think is going to win, they do a study and they found out that before you place the bet, you probably rate the chances of winning at around 40%. As soon as you place the money and you've made the bet, your brain shifts and says, oh, I actually have money in this. I have no alternative but to believe this. And it will actually shift to about 60 to 70% belief after you've bought the ticket. Same horse, same football team, everything is exactly the same. But now your brain changes its belief around it. This is why burning the bridges, for example, behind you is so powerful, because once you've committed to something, your brain says, well, we're going to have to make this a reality because we have no alternative anymore. So it's very interesting. To probe this, psychologist Dan Ariely conducted the following experiment. In one of his classes, he raffled tickets to a major baseball game, then polled the students to see how much they thought the tickets were worth. The empty-handed students estimated around $170, whereas the winning students would not sell their tickets below an average of $2,400. The simple fact of ownership makes us add zeros to the selling price. We feel that there's a power to owning something. In real estate, the endowment effect is palpable. Sellers become emotionally attached to their houses and thus systematically overestimate their value. They balk at the market price, expecting buyers to pay more, which is completely absurd since this excess is little more than sentimental value. In business, this is called, now why is it not coming to me? Goodwill. So in business, you also have a part of the business which is called goodwill, which is for the marketing and the reputation of the business. And also that one can be highly overestimated because I've worked there and I feel really attached to my business. So I want to add as much goodwill as possible, which is just a phantom number that we make up in order to be able to add a value to the things that aren't physically in the shop, such as the reputation of the owner, the reputation of the business, the number of clients that automatically come past, all of those different kinds of things. Richard Thaler. performed an interesting classroom experiment at Cornell University to measure the endowment effect. He distributed coffee mugs to half of the students and told them they could either take the mug home or sell it at a price that they could specify. The other half of the students who didn't get a mug were asked how much they would be willing to pay for a mug. In other words, Thaler set up a market for coffee mugs. One would expect that roughly 50% of the students would be willing to trade to either sell or buy a mug. But the result was much lower than that. Why? Because the average owner would not sell below $5.25, and the average buyer would not pay more than $2.25 for a mug. We can safely say that we are better at collecting things than at casting them off. It's important to be able to learn to let go. That's why I like minimalism, for example. Not only does this explain why we fill our homes with junk, but also why lovers of stamps, watches, and pieces of art part with them so seldomly. Amazingly, the endowment effect does not only possess, okay, we'll start that sentence again. Amazingly, the endowment affects, I see what he's done there. He has created a tongue twister for me. Amazingly, the endowment affects, see, that's where he got me, not only possession, but also near ownership. Auction houses like Christie's and Sotheby's thrive on this. A person who bids until the end of an auction gets the feeling that the object is practically theirs, thus increasing its value. The would-be owner is suddenly willing to pay much more than planned, and any withdrawal from the bidding is perceived as a loss, which defies all logic. And that loss actually processes in the brain as a physical pain. It's very similar to a physical pain. So let's say that you're in the auction and you set yourself a limit of this is as high as I'm going to bid, but all of a sudden it goes a little bit crazy, and there is somebody else that keeps bidding as well. But now I feel like I almost own it. And so if I don't end up owning it, I'm going to feel as if I am physically in pain. It's the same neuroreceptors in the brain that will fire, that will make you feel the same as physical pain. So the other person bids again. He's feeling the same thing. So none of you want that pain. So you keep bidding and bidding. And so I go from here, which is my limit, to here, and then here, and then here, and then here. And by this stage, I'm thinking, oh, I am so close. I just need to beat this one guy and I will own it. And that feeling forces you to just keep bidding and bidding and bidding. So these are great. I love this book because it's all these amazing things that we can do to be able to remove some of the things that are causing us harm, shall we say. In large auctions such as those for mining rights or mobile radio frequencies, we often observe the winner's curse. Here, the successful bidder turns out to be the economic loser when he gets caught up in the fervor and overbids. And winner's curse will be discussed in chapter 35. So in about 11 chapters. There's a similar effect in the job market. If you're applying for a job and don't get a call back, you have every reason to be disappointed. However, if you make it to the final stages of the selection process and then receive the rejection, the disappointment can be much bigger, irrationally. Either you get the job or you don't. Nothing else should matter. But obviously, if we are close to the end, we feel so much more attachment to it because we feel we've already got it. If we don't get an answer from the get-go, we don't really tend to worry about it at all. And thank you for all of the love hearts that have just come through. Okay, in conclusion, don't cling to things. This is why I really love minimalism, because it allows you to be able to just let go of things, and it separates you from what happens to some people where we get attached to things and it becomes like we become the slave to it. So don't cling to things. Consider your property something that the universe, whatever you believe this to be, has bestowed upon you temporarily. Keep in mind that it can recoup this or more in the blink of an eye, and that's a very important point. So there are people that have lost everything and remade a fortune a couple of times throughout their lives. It is quite amazing how time, we can't get time back, but money, we can get money back. Possessions, we can get possessions back. And so it's really important to realize that everything that we own, if we can detach from it, if we don't see the necessity of it as much, or we can let go of it, and we can, a very powerful exercise actually to give things away from time to time. Things that you feel are important to you, if you can learn to give them away to somebody else and share the power of that, it's amazing how you can detach from the things that hold us back. It's like having a stone tied around your legs and seeing if you can move. If you can cut off some of those stones, you can move through life much more easily. And it's very Buddhist, and it is very challenging for some people to be able to think that way. But once you can let go of things and not hold attachment to the things that you own, when something breaks, if you're not going to cry over spilled milk over it, or those kinds of things, then it becomes very powerful in life. So that is the endowment effect, chapter 23. Tomorrow we're going to be on chapter 24, the inevitability of unlikely events. This one is called coincidence. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really good. And I'm looking forward to seeing you for that one. So that was a very interesting chapter. I'd love to know your thoughts. If you have any thoughts on that, if you are watching on YouTube, leave a comment. If you're on Bigo Live, obviously you can comment as well. I always love hearing from you. And we've got Mladen online on Zoom. And it's always great having you. And hopefully we'll have more people on Zoom Live very soon. And we'll see how we go with it all. We might make some changes to the reading in some positive ways. We might also do some research and some other things that I was going to do separately, but we might do it on different days. So we'll have some reading and some research, different other things. So we'll have lots of interesting things. Let me know your thoughts, whether that is something that you like the idea of, or if you'd prefer something different. This little section here is 15 minutes for you to be able to get ready to start the day well. Have an amazing day. So I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you for joining. It's always amazing having you, and be good till then.